It's just a couple minutes after 10. I'll give it just a couple minutes, see if anybody jumps in. This is a pajama stream. And while we're waiting, I'm going to edit a photo. If I can find the one I want to edit. Thought I'd hop in tonight and just do a check-in because I know I have not been as um, I've not been as consistent this week as I wanted to be. Hey, Priscilla. Oh, good, Denise. Did you wonder why your box was so fat until you opened it? Oh, the post office attendant thought that was hilarious. I said I told her to think skinny thoughts. I don't think it worked. And I forgot to put your earrings in there. So I still have your earrings, so I've got to send those in the next round. I knew I'd forget something, but I did successfully get all the packages out, so that's great. Priscilla, as you can tell, I've had a rough day, but it's because the weather has all been coming from like the wrong way. It's been like a backward spin, and the pressure changed. And when the pressure changes, it makes me kind of puff up. And my hands are better than they were yesterday, but I've been trying to rest them because they've been really swollen and really shaky. And I'm gonna have company this weekend, and I want to feel good, so I've been resting my body because I'm trying to save up all of my good vibes. And I look translucent, but we put in an LED light bulb, and that's really what has changed because I am not this pale. That's just a very expensive $8 bulb. It's very bright. It's very, very bright. So we've got Priscilla, we've got Denise, who successfully got her package. Let's see. Yeah, Priscilla, I think yours, because of the flooding of the rain, is probably taking a little bit longer. I noticed that stuff that I had ordered is taking a little bit longer because of the flooding that we had where it comes from the main office. Hi, Gypsy. So yeah, the weather's been crazy. I think that's why, like, I don't really feel super bad today. I had a migraine, so I spent most of the day in bed. And probably, I mean, I really want to go right back to bed right now, and I will in a few minutes. I had stuff I had to do. Um, but I spent most of the day in bed sleeping off a migraine, and my hands have been shaky. I was able to edit that video, and because of all the rain and my slow internet and the weather, it took way too long to upload that. But I'm glad that it uploaded because I really wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm fixing to share on a community post the Highland cows that I finished for my daughter-in-law, the mom and baby combo. So I'm going to create a community post right now so that you all can see the finished. And they're my first two finished sculptures. The only other thing I've sculpted is Cluck Gable's head. That was a chicken ornament doll shelf sitter thingy I made. Um, so these are practically my first two real sculptures, and they're supposed to be more whimsical. They're kind of a gnome whimsy Highland cow. She loves Highland cows. She's a sassy little thing, so I put the mama's tongue sticking out. The little one has got a pink raspberry flower on her head to show that it's a little girl. And mom has got one. I try to make it look like one of those purple and yellow pansies. Didn't quite master that because I'm new to the markers that I've been using. These are really good, but when you try to blend and stuff, it's a whole new world. So I didn't quite master that, but they turned out cute for what they were, and I know that she'll like them because she about had a connection fit when she saw that I was trying to sculpt a cow to begin with. Um, so I'm excited to surprise her with those. She's got a baby appointment in the morning, and then they're going to start by tomorrow evening, and I'm going to snap a few maternity photos right here in front of my sunflower patch that I planned all year, planted to come into bloom when she would be about ready to pop, so that I could take pictures in front of it. I planned that out for a whole year to have those there. And so we're going to take pictures in front of them, and then if she doesn't pop early, we're going to try on the everyone's successful next day off or time off. We're going to try to go down to the farm and do pictures with Lane, Kaylee, Chaytak the dog, everybody in the cow pasture and at the farm, mom and dad's farm. So we're going to attempt to do that. I'm going to go through these just so everybody has the information on the screen. Please go and visit Hillbilly Heart Decor Etsy. My husband added a couple. He did want to sell those keychains I made. He's got 3 things that should be uploading tonight or tomorrow morning. Internet in the sticks, y'all. And so I think by tomorrow he should have added 5 new listings, and then the fur will start hitting at in the next few days. So a lot of fur, a lot of fur. Oh, happy almost early birthday. That makes me want to have to like do a midnight post. I'm not sure I'll be awake, but if I am, I may send something. No, you don't have to dance around your kitchen for your healing stick tort. No, um, basically it's just a physical representation so that when you see it, it makes you think about your health, and it basically prompts you to think about your health. And it's a physical representation for you to remember to it's a real thing. Take care of it. And the Cherokee side of things are that the beads and the rhythm and the shaking, it elevates your vibration. And the Cherokee believe that with singing and dancing, the higher you elevated your vibration, the closer you were to Creator God. So those are the two the two takes on it from my 2 cultural backgrounds. Um, but if you do choose to dance around the living room, we all expect video. Perhaps even time lapse. That would be really cute. That would be really cute. I want to give a shout out to Country Christian. She did a video today about basically it's her testimony, her life story, her everything rolled into one. Cautionary tale, life story, testimony, and everyone needs to go watch it. Everyone needs to go like it. Everybody needs to go support her. It takes a brave person to put yourself out there, flaws and all, and someone that will put themselves out there and be used as a warning to others, but also as a testimony that bad decisions don't stick with you forever, and bad decisions are something that you can correct. People that always seem to make bad decisions, they're not bad people, they're bad decision makers, and you can change that. So if you change the way you make your decisions and you're just a bad decision maker, then normally your life changes and it starts to improve. um, so I always said, when I was pro officer, bad decisions, we can work on that. As long as you're willing to put in the work on making decisions, we can work on that. So everybody needs to go watch that, give her a like, show her some love, because it takes a brave person to do that. It takes a very brave person to do that. Everybody's telling Gypsy happy birthday. We have got such a good family. Oh, it's your daughter. Well, you know something? We're definitely okay. We're definitely gonna have to do something then. I definitely need to do something tomorrow, just as a funny happy birthday to you. It's always nice, especially when you're younger, because you feel invisible when you're younger. It's always nice to have people kind of make a fuss over you. So I'll have to do something. I'll come up with something. It may be short and brief, but I'll come up with something. Oscar may have to help. We'll do something. Oh, we're gonna do something. There will be something posted tomorrow, specifically, yeah, specifically for the birthday girl. So what we'll be doing is Abby will have something show up on my channel tomorrow that will be specifically geared toward her birthday and a chuckle. So oh, did you delete that? Well, I watched that one and she did a beautiful video the other day, and some absolutely horrible human being wanted to come in and stated they wanted to share their message and did a horrible thing to where the whole video had to be deleted. And then I got the other link this morning and watched what I could through the haze of a migraine. Um, when you put your final one up, it's going to stay there. Please let us know because I want to share it. Because it seems like every time that you start to tell the story again, it just gets better. And I think that's something that people absolutely need to hear. Absolutely need to hear. Hi, Katrina. How are you? So I did the video today. I had actually started editing on it the other day. When he posted the song, I was like, hey, can I use that? Can I share that? Can I do a little video about you? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to share that. It just took me forever to edit because my hands have not been on the working side of things the last couple of days. They've been kind of doing their own thing. Today's been better, and I've just been resting them because I've not been super coordinated the last couple of days. It's been kind of irritating. And my legs got in on it last night and today. And what it is sometimes when the weather changes or my RSD wants to present, I will clench. My muscles will freeze when I sleep and they will lock up. And all my muscles can do it. Even my finger joints up here hurt. And this is where I clench. And when I'm awake and I clench, I know my muscles have locked and frozen and I can work them out. But when I'm asleep, I don't know until I wake up. And then I feel like I've turned to stone and it takes me forever. I wake up almost in tears and it takes me forever to work it out. And so my calf muscles, my left one was not working today at all. It was like I had a toothpick for a leg and I just had to peg leg it everywhere I went. So this is how I've walked all day. So I've had a definite different pattern rhythm to my walk today. I've been like a little peg leg. And my right one was sore but not as bad. Finally, they're both calf muscles are starting to lengthen and work again. It feels like, what it feels like is you've not gone to the gym in 20 years and then you went and did 5 leg days in 2 hours and woke up the next morning dying in pain. That's what it feels like. And so I've been super slow about things. And hey, Jamie. And Jamie made my day today. I got goodies in the mail. I've been told by David I can't open it until he gets home because today is a no knife day for my hands. Because yesterday I had very horrible coordination and I smashed a finger and doing the dishes just about a vegetable peeled my finger. And so David was like, when he walked out the door and the postman literally was walking to the porch, and so he just grabbed it and brought it in and he said, don't open it. I'll open it when I get home. This is a no knife day. And I was like, okay. So it's sitting right here and I'm staring at it all day. So I've got my eye on it. Got my eye on it. All smiles. Oh, we're gonna be, something will show up tomorrow. So I just need to see what will make her laugh the most. Yes, this is the best age. Tell her this is the best age. Enjoy this year because soon she'll be a teenager. Then the responsibilities start coming on. Life changes, so enjoy this year. Hang on to those preteen years. They're great. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. Okay. Priscilla's going to do on this weekend. Y'all, when she does it, you've got to hear her story. I'm not even going to attempt to give it away. It's hers to tell, and it is really, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. we have got a group of people here that have really gone through some stuff, but have miraculously maintained a positive vibe in life and really look for the good in everyone. And so when I started kind of putting together everybody's story, if you can't tell it's rained in Tennessee, my hair should tell you. Um, when I started putting together everybody's stories as they've told them, I'm like, wow, we absolutely gravitate toward people that have been through some stuff, but that have overwhelmingly beat the odds and said, hey, I like that, I can do anything else, and stayed remarkably positive. So we're a really special group of people. I'm hoping tomorrow my legs will be more functional, and I can get more done. I have literally, I've done the basic like make piles of things I'm going to need for crafts and get things like lined up. Um, and basically, I craft. If anyone wants to know why I craft, it's a tough age, but it's not a teenager. So hang on to that one. Yeah, you're right, Denise. Um, so basically, what I've done is prep for my crafts. And if everyone wants to know why I craft, I have a neuromuscular disorder called reflex sympathetic dystrophy, and basically, I have a diseased central nervous system. My nerves do not send the correct impulses, and it even affects my organs, my digestive tract, and my pancreas for the most part. Um, I've had some speech problems the last couple of days too, and so anyone that has talked to me a lot has probably heard me make some slip ups with certain repetitive words because that happens sometimes too, and I get like this. So I craft because I have a Parkinsonian tremor that likes to present, and it was making my hand strength really non-existent. And so every time I go to physical therapy, I noticed they were making me do these fine motor skills that I could have done if I just sat home and hand sewn or tried to crochet or just tried to do small little strengthening movements. So I started trying to learn how to wire wrap jewelry. I started learning how to paint, how to do some resin work, and I started visiting my roots and the native crafts I did as a kid when Mom would take us to the tribe, to the powwows, and to the meetings. And I started doing that, and it basically is my physical therapy. And my hands are actually doing pretty good. On I can tell that the strength is more consistent and the shake is less pronounced. But I still have days where it overwhelms me, and I have to go. Okay, well, I'm not going to do anything good today because everything's going to look like an earthquake hit when I did it, so I can't do anything. Um, but I can tell that the crafting does help. So I craft, I make things. And if I make something super pretty, my husband will swap it and he'll put it in his Etsy shop, which is normally fur items. But if I make something super cute, he'll swap it. Because bless his heart, he's the one that buys my crafting supplies. So basically, I craft for physical therapy to keep my hands and my motor skills going, my fine motor skills. But sometimes I just have to take days and rest, and the last couple of days have been that. I'm expecting a visitor this weekend, and I did not want to overdo it and not be able to enjoy my time with my friend. So it was like I need to chill. And the weather, the weather. Apparently, I live in a tropical rainforest, so the weather's not been great. Um, but I do like to make dream catchers, and I am Scots Irish and Cherokee. I look like I know I look like my Scots Irish side more than my Cherokee side, but I do like to make dream catchers. I do believe that there is kind of a spiritual thing about them. I believe that when you weave the intent to help and send support and love and aid to someone who's struggling with something emotionally, mentally, that presents in their dreams, I think when you send that well wish, that intent that you put into the dream catcher, it's kind of like praying for somebody and sending up a prayer, and that's just a physical representation, and they get it, and it seems to improve whatever they're going through, and that's just kind of like the snippet of it all. But I enjoy doing them, and I enjoy sending them to people, and basically I weave them for what I put in them, for the items I put in them. I'm not trying to make money. I'm just, like I said, I try to do this as physical therapy to make sure that my hands are functioning. So, I do like to put the natural stuff in them. So I use jute twine. I use, my husband will cut my willow limbs for me. I have fowl farms that pick up feathers for me. I try to use wooden beads or authentic gem beads or bison horn beads that have been made. Um, and if David has leftover stuff from the fur shop, I will use bits of tanned hide, skulls, bones, whatever the person is open for me using. And so basically, I weave them. I don't charge a lot. I basically charge for the supplies that I put in them because I enjoy doing it, and it's how I feel useful, and it keeps my hands working. So as long as David is like, as long as you're, as long as we can get the beads and stuff and keep you sitting here happy, he's fine. So it's what I do, and I enjoy it. Well, there's no ominous smells or liquid, so I think your bubble wrap. I honestly think you need to work for a shipping department somewhere because the last one it looked professionally shipped, so I was amazed. But this one seems to have done just fine, and it was the nice little postal carrier that brought it. He was so gentle with it. I was like, "You're so sweet," but he's young and he's not got jaded yet, so we're just gonna wait. Eventually, there'll be something broken on my front porch. Oh, thank you. So I just wanted to come on today because the last couple of days I've worked on videos because of my health has been kind of and oh, you had tests today. Okay, prayers. Everybody send out prayers and good vibes for Denise. She had tests today, and I know how nerve wracking that can be. So please keep us posted. Um, yes, I'm gonna buy ducks because I have a pond in my front yard. Still no nightmares? Oh, great. Since she got her dream catcher, that's great. Except for the one dream about finding cake icing in the cabinet, and hey, I would choose that one every day. There you go. That's why you're so good at it. I mean, it looked professionally packed, so that's why. So I haven't been on a lot the last couple of days because I've been dealing with my hands and my health. That's why I edited the video and focused on that so that you still have content. And when I don't feel good, I know that it can affect my interactions, and so sometimes I'm not the most positive person. I'm grumpy when I don't feel good. I'm sitting here bending my fingers backwards because I'm stretching. And I have to watch myself. Like sometimes I notice when I don't feel well, the interactions I have online are not the most positive. And I had an interaction yesterday with someone, and I was like, and I actually sent voice messages back and forth with a friend because I was like, am I just not in a good place and like dreaming this up, or should I be upset that someone chose to go this route in a dialogue, um and so I just and there are some days I'm not conducive to society and I don't need to be on the internet, and I try to be very aware of that, and especially when I don't feel well. So I've been kind of chill the last couple of days. And so when I think I'm in that mindset, I try to do something super positive to pull myself out of that. And so I worked on that video and got that prepared and finally uploaded for you all. And that is one of my biggest success stories. And if I were to know of a teen somewhere that was on the verge of adulthood and fixing to make a huge mistake or making mistakes that could put them in prison or in jail quickly, if I were to call him and say this person is going down the wrong path, he would be here in 10 minutes to meet with them, talk to them. I mean, he's just one of those. He's just great. Um, he did youth ministry for a while, and I think he still dabbles in it, but he works a lot of hours, but he still loves to sing and do worship songs in church and stuff like that. So, and he's actually got a really good voice, and he does more singing, and if he will allow me to share more, I will continue to share more. Um, but I was notified. So when I get grumpy, I go positive. So I went positive today. But I was notified when he was being released, and came across with, it was like in a yellow block on the computer screen. Violent, aggressive, extremely dangerous. And I thought, oh wow. Because they don't normally take the time to put the yellow blocks everywhere. Normally it's only like security threat group, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's great. So I went to look at his history and I was like, whoa. I mean, it was pretty substantial. And I was like, that's takes some effort. We got a grumpy Gus. And normally people, an officer would see that and be like, oh, great, I've got a problem coming my way. But I know that a lot of people, especially when they're physically aggressive, it's a defense mechanism. Normally there's a reason why they have that defense mechanism. And it has nothing to do with physical aggression 99% of the time. It's something else that has generated a defense mechanism where they posture, they get aggressive to protect whatever is hurt. And they build this facade up and then they have a hard time getting away from that facade. And then sometimes they are just mean people. And so you just kind of have to test them when they come in. And I'm really good at like poking the bear without it seeming like I'm poking the bear. I can say and kind of quip and sarcastically say things and get a response without someone, getting super mad or annoyed with me. And I think a lot of it has to do with accent and a lot of it has to do with my body language and my word choices. And I build a really good rapport with the people that I do this with too. I don't just like, hit them full force with sarcasm. I build up to it and I let them kind of have a back and forth and I get to know them and then I start testing them. And so I actually did an individual intake with him. I normally did group intakes, but I did an individual with him thinking that there could potentially be a problem. And he came in and he honestly, I mean, he skinned the door frame. I was like, oh, And I think he had on a black tank top, like a wife beater tank top. Like distressed jeans, a big chain hanging to his wallet. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to tell him he can't have a chain on his wallet because that could be a weapon. And while it didn't freak me out when cops stop you and they see a big chain to your wallet, they get freaked out because it could be a weapon if something happens. And, you just have to think for everybody when you're in that job. And I thought he's going to get grumpy really quick when I start going through these rules. I thought, I hope, this goes well. And, I mean, he could have auditioned for Vikings and gotten a job in 5 minutes. I mean, he was just super tall, super grumpy looking, but he had the most beautiful hair, and he had a ton of hair. The picture that I shared was actually way shorter than when I first met him. I mean, he had a ton of hair, and I thought that's my, because I had very short hair at the time, and I thought that's my ticket. And so during intake and stuff, he would swoop his hair back so he could fill out the paperwork. And I was like, do you need a barrette? I think I may have one in my pocketbook. And he looked at me and kind of grinned. And I was like, or we could do a messy bun, maybe a French braid. How about some victory rolls? And he kind of looked at me and he was like, hey, you got a sense of humor on you. I was just kind of, I can kind of grin and go on. And I said, you do have pretty hair though. I said, I have no hair and it grows very, very slow. I said, so I'm already jealous. And I said, I give nicknames to everyone. I said, so I'm just going to warn you, you're going to have a nickname. It's probably going to be hair related. Just warning you. And he took everything that day really well, And I thought, normally when we go through the background and we go through all the rigmarole, normally I see at least some sign of where the aggression lies, whether it's past relationships we have to talk about, family squabbles, domestic issues, whether it's just an issue with authority or it's a personal deficit that has been preyed upon. Normally you get an indicator. And he was just this very amicable human being that I really enjoyed spending time with. And I was like, you're friendly. I don't mind when you report monthly. This is just like saying howdy. How you doing? You're doing good? Well, that's great. Let's keep doing good. Tell your mom and dad I'll be out next week to visit everybody. I'll see you then for a home visit. It was just very easy. And I thought, we'll work up to where I can ask him what's going on, because you have to really build a working relationship with these people so that you can get to the foundation, the root of what is wrong. So finally we got to where we could have those discussions and I said, I said, I really thought you were going to be a booger. Like somebody that I was really going to have to wrestle with. Like somebody that was not going to want to follow the rules, that was going to come out here and, be very vocal and angry and animated. And I said, you're just really chill. I was like, why is there. I said, the black and white that I read on my paperwork does not always reflect the person, but why does your black and white paperwork read completely different than the person sitting in front of me? I said, because I would think that they'd sent me the wrong paperwork had I met you, and then they said, oh, by the way, here's the paperwork. Nope, that's not the person I'm talking to. Sorry. Um, he said, you're nice. And I said, are we talking about me now? We're talking about me. I'm nice. So your paperwork, your black and white on your paperwork doesn't reflect who you are because I'm nice. Not following you. He goes, no, you're nice to me so I can be nice to you. I said, is there a reason why you wouldn't be nice to me? Just like if you met me somewhere past me on the road, would you just, if you hadn't met me in this office, in this regard, would I get a different perspective of you? And he goes, no, as long as you're nice to me, I'm nice. I said, so why were you not nice to them? I pointed to his file. And he said, they were not nice to me. And I said, hey, you can't justify physical violence because someone wasn't nice to you. And I said, you just, I said, you got to be a functioning adult in the world. You can't, it's not WWE SmackDown when you go to the Dollar General and somebody says, hey, get out of my way. You can't bring out a ladder and, go after somebody. And he goes, no. He said, everywhere I've gone in my life, he said, because I am so tall, because I am such a big person, because I do have he did kind of have a permanent scowl on his face, but when he smiled, he had a beautiful smile, and his eyes lit up. But he did kind of have a permanent scowl on his face, and he said, they think I'm dangerous, and they think I'm like not fit to be in society, and they like pull their kids away from me, and he said some of them will just say really not nice things, and then there's some people that because I'm this stature, they think, oh well, he's in my territory, I've got to tell him who's the boss, and he's like, I don't start any of these issues. He said, but if I don't stand up, he said, my whole life I would just have been beat down by people that always saw me as a threat. And I guess it kind of is like putting a new young bull calf in the field with the herd, and the old bull goes, you don't need to be here. You threatened me. You threatened me. And then the bull will start following that young bull calf around and kind of saying, I am your boss. Either submit, or there are going to be problems. And so he had been kind of like that little bull calf that was getting moved around and pushed, and they were trying to say submit and everything will be okay, because I know if you grow up and you grow bigger than me, I'm going to lose my power. And it happened in school, it happened in his friendships, it happened in his relationships, and sadly it happened in society when you live in a small town. And um, some men are like little banny roosters, and they think they just have to run the show. And sadly, he engaged. And I said, why did you even engage? And he was like, well, there's sometimes if I hadn't, he said, I'm not sure I'd be here today. And I was like, okay, okay. I said, well, obviously, this is not working. I was like, because the more of these you get, then all you're doing is basically telling them you were right. I'm not a good person. I don't make good decisions. And if you get close to me, I'm not going to do anything positive. And so we started talking, and I slowly started having him, I kind of tricked him into verbally stating, I am a nice person. I do nice things. I do, and he had a daughter. He took really good care of his daughter. He was a great father. And, he loved her. I mean, the bond they have is amazing. and she has the same hair, by the way. And so one day I looked at him and I was like, I've named you. And he was like, uh-oh, nickname. And I was like, yep. And I nicknamed everyone because I never called them their Thomas number because I thought that was demeaning. That was like monitoring ear-tagged cattle. That was, no, you're not a number. So I either called them their name, but I always come up with a nickname. And they all enjoyed it. They all thought it was funny. So I had nicknames. And he's like, okay, what's my nickname? And I was like, Pantene. And he was like, oh. And it stuck. To this day, if I see him, I will still say Pantene before I will say his name. And he gets a kick out of it. I get a kick out of it. It's fine. And he slowly, as he sat there, and his visits, his monthly visits, would get just a little longer, a little longer. So I try to put him like right before lunch. So if I needed to spend extra time, I would just take it out of my lunch hour and spend with him. And he finally started realizing, oh my gosh, I am a nice person. I do have great qualities. I do have a good character. I can make good decisions. I do have love to show. I am worthy of people showing me love and at least respect in return. And I can change the way that I engage with people. And if someone looks at me and wants to start an altercation, I can just say, I'm sorry. That's not who I am. I don't want to have a problem. So I'm going to remove myself if you try to have contact with me again. I'm going to have to report it to law enforcement. I'm not going to play this game anymore. I don't want to spend any more time in the pokey. And it started gravitating him toward more positive people that saw positive things within him, and then positivity just blossomed everywhere. And he started smiling more. His clothing changed. Yes, pecking order, the male species. It's so unbecoming. Something they need to really, really work out. I mean, they need men work on it. Herbal essence would have been great, but it would have been funnier. It would have been funnier for somebody that had another issue along with aggravated assault issues. Anyway, um, he just started to change, and the more he changed, the more positive decisions. It changed who he socialized with, who he gravitated toward, where he wanted to be, the shops he went to, how he spent his extra time on the weekends, his hobbies. It changed everything. And he started to say, hey, this is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Hey, we're getting it, you know. And he's like, I'm changing my life. He's like, thank you for helping me. I was like, I just sat here. I'm like, you've verbalized everything and went out the door and done it. You've done everything. I've just sat here and said, was that a good idea? I think that's my role in life. If I was a cartoon character, I would be the little elephant on Tarzan that goes, is this water sanitary? That would be me. That's my job in life, to go, are you sure this is a good idea? So that's all I really do to people is, can we rephrase that and say it in a nicer way? Could there have been a better decision made at that time? That's all I do. And they find their own options, pick one, go with it, and make their own changes and cultivate their new life. I literally do nothing but I'm like the caution sticker that just shows up. I'm the help button. That's all I am. And I had on parole for several years until I had to leave due to my health and all the rigmarole that ordeal was. I think they were mad at me because I got a neuromuscular disorder. Like, it was the weirdest experience. It was the most horrible experience of my life. Anyway, he's done now. He's doing great. So he's off paper, living his life, doing his own thing, doing great. And as you can see, all these positive choices led him to a really positive place, which was a church family. And once he decided to commit his life to God, it was just like he found where he was supposed to be the whole time. And when I met him, I knew I was not seeing what they were telling me in his file I should see. And I knew I was seeing a very patient and observant person. And normally those two things are never in someone that has aggression tendencies. Like I've had people that are so hyper aggressive because they have they like amp themselves up, so they'll start talking and then they'll start using their hands, and then it gets more. I've had people like grown men. I've been like, sit on your hands. No, sit on your hands. Put them under your thighs or your buttocks. Sit. Okay, now tell me the story again, calmly. Put your eyebrows down. And they realize, oh, I amped myself up. And I'm like, you see how that felt different? And they're like, oh, crap, yeah. And I'm like, you do a lot of this yourself, so let's stop doing this, you know. It's like Tammy Faye Baker's eyelashes and hair. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's no need for that. And I've had grown men sit on their hands and then tell me the story again, and they realize, I'm doing this crap to myself. And so once he realized that, he was just unstoppable. And he's still unstoppable today. Doesn't mean he has no problems in his life. Nope. He still has issues that he has to resolve and decisions he has to make. And he still has conflicts he has to resolve. But he has a healthy way to do that now. And I'm just so proud of him. And I just wanted to share that. And since he started sharing stuff on different social media platforms, I thought, well, I'm going to ask him if I can do this. And he was like, absolutely. So I got permission for everything. And then immediately, as soon as I published it, sent him the link. And so I was just really proud to share that. Everyone that I supervised had something positive within them. I really don't think I met anyone, and I supervised murderers. There was always a redeemable quality about everyone that sat in front of me, even if they couldn't see it. And so, really, my job was to make them understand that no matter what decision they had made, what charges they had caught, what behaviors and actions they had participated within, that they could start today and start down a different path. And many of them did. And I missed my job for that reason. It was a hard job. It was an emotionally hard job. It was difficult to deal with people that you thought were doing well, and then would get in an altercation, and you would see them on Thursday, and then you would come in next Monday, and you would get an obituary that they had been shot over the weekend due to an altercation. And so you had to deal with a lot of upset and a lot of bad news. But when you got good news and you saw positive things occur, little miracles, it kept you going. So it kept me plugging away, thinking I've just got to, you know, get through this month, and I'll find the few that are, you know, going to change their world. And it just kept me going, even when there were ones that I had to do warrants and send them back, and you would just feel like a failure sometimes because you just feel like you were writing warrants all the time, and like, I can't allow you to stay out in society doing these things, breaking these rules and regulations you have to follow. I can't allow you to continue to make these bad decisions because you're just going to end up doing worse things. So I have to put you back, rethink, reset, think about it, and then when you get another parole option, try again. Um, but when I saw somebody get it right, it kept me hanging on and going to work and trying harder. And if my health had maintained, I would still be working in that line of work. Um, I like the people that everyone wants to bet against, because that's where you find sometimes the best examples and the best zingers for these people that bet against them. I loved it when people proved other people and their false expectations wrong. I love to see an underdog come out and win. And I love to see people make a connection with, I am a good person. You don't get to dictate who I am. I get to wake up and choose that every day with my behavior. I am in control. And it was so great to be able to witness that in so many lives. And I miss it. But that's why I wanted to do something positive today, because I had some just negative interactions online, and it was like we were all positive. I just shared my positive example as everyone else had shared their positive example, and it was like, whew, like mites on a chicken. And I was like, whoa, 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 what'd I do? What'd I do? And I was really frustrated because in one instance, it was simply because I had shared my ancestral lineage genealogy journey that I put together. Everybody was talking about their genealogy and how we're all immigrants and how immigration and the perceptions of it have changed so much so drastically lately and that everybody has an immigrant story and some of them are 99% of them are not really positive, but the people that got here were able to cultivate a positive life somehow, and we there are things you should be thankful for. Um and so I just got in there and told, I researched and I was surprised what I found, that the only reason that half of my family was here was because they were rambunctious Scottish and Irish citizens that like to stay in trouble or in jail. And so when they needed free labor or work, instead of sending you to jail for life, if you had done something that bad, they would send you to the New World to carve out the wilderness. And they were like, oh, you had indentured servants in your lineage. No. No. See, they were going to go to prison. And then they said, well, we're just going to put you on a boat. And if you live, you can just work for the crown over there. But you still belong to the crown. And we're never going to let you free, but you're just going to work. And they're like, well, they work for the crown. They were indentured servants. I said, no. I said they couldn't. They were not going to given an option to purchase their freedom. They were not given a price and given inflation and taxation increase or interest increase, and given the option to work off that price. They were slaves. They were never going to be free. But rather than stay in concrete walls or jail cells and die, because that's normally what happens in one of the Irish prisons, they would take their chances on the New World, and many would escape. And they would go hide out in the hills of Appalachia. And they would learn to barter with the few Indian tribes that were somewhat sociable. And they would end up marrying into like the tribe and taking a squaw as a wife and kind of networking into the land. And they were like, that's not true at all. I'm sitting here. It's got to be true. That's how I came to be. Well, you know nothing. Because the only slaves came from this area. I said, it's not the only slaves. Like the entire world has had their hands in the slavery business. There are no clean hands in any culture when it comes to slavery. None. And slavery still exists to this day. And the majority of people that do background genealogy will find multiple examples of slavery in their lineage, especially if they came from Ireland, Scotland. Greece has got a lot, and then the East Indies and Africa, of course. But I mean, there's nowhere on the world, on the globe, that's untouched. It's sad to say, but we almost all have a background like that, and we should allow everyone to tell their story. It doesn't diminish anyone else's story, but you should let someone's light shine. And they were like, well, it takes away from the people that were really slaves. I would think anyone that woke up without the ability to be free and make their own decisions would assure you that any form of slavery sucks. It's real. And I said someone else's story and heritage and culture does not take away from the validity of your heritage and culture and story. I said, when we allow someone else's light to shine, it doesn't dim our own. It amplifies the light all over the world, and we all shine brighter. Why are we trying to dim someone else's light? I said, why, instead of saying, okay, I didn't know that, I'm going to research that, I'm going to look that up. If it's that important to you to tell me that my story is wrong, it should be important enough for you to go, I'm going to educate myself so if I come across this again, I will know the truth. I'm not going to spend time because I know you're lying to me. And I was like, is this how you communicate with everyone? Because it seems terribly ineffective because we were having a very positive dialogue. And it only became negative when you decided that your history was the only one that sucked. And I said, I'm not sure if that's the trophy you want to win or the hill you want to die on or the flag you want to fly. I would think that it would be better to say, I'm going to learn as much as possible about everyone's struggle because everyone's struggle teaches us something different. Maybe we won't repeat any of the struggles again. Well, you only see positive things like that because you're privileged. And I was like, no, 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 we're not going there. Because if you want to see someone who is not privileged, come sit at my broken kitchen table with my broken kitchen chairs with my house that my own husband had to build in my 24-year-old riding mower that makes funny noises and I swear it's going to blow up one day. The land that I've had to pay for 3 times because I had to send my daughter to college. And the first year, I had to sink my whole home and acreage into debt to get her through it so that her financial aid and scholarships and grants would kick in so she could finish. There is no privilege here, buddy. I put zucchini in everything I eat because it takes on the flavor of the meat, and I'm chewing on zucchini or cucumber or cabbage, but I think it's hamburger. I trick myself with vegetables infused with beef broth. There is no privilege here. We water the soup down until the water's wondering what's in there. You know, and it's like if you want to see misery, you can look at anyone's life and see misery. But is that the trophy we want to win? Because while I have a very simple existence and I don't have a lot, I sit here and think, I got my girl through college. My boy is 24, works hard, has an old soul, is a creative little turd, is talented as the day is long, seems to be happy and is expecting his first baby. That's a win. He met a beautiful young woman that I couldn't have picked a better soulmate for him if I had been the good Lord myself. That's a win. My home may be handmade, but it suits me, keeps me dry. And my husband loved me enough to build it. So it's like, and I was like, it just seems so fruitless to come on a platform where you can learn about millions of people, but think that I can learn nothing because your story is not true. Only mine is. And I'm like, who wakes up and thinks that? Because my entire life, my entire education, my entire career was built upon making sure I listened to other people's stories so that they could improve the quality of their life and their existence. So I listened a lot. And I realized that a lot of people have a lot of crummy stuff in their past. But the future can have a different spin on it if you learn what perspective to take that benefits you the most. And I fail some days. I fall short some days. Some days I do not meet my goal of staying positive, and I have to go, not a good person today. And I'm like, I'm not a good person. And he was like, so what are you trying to tell me? I was like, I think there's more from your past and your culture and your lineage, your genealogy to take than I win the misery trophy. And he's like, well, what did your ancestors teach you? I said, it's very important when I was a little girl for them to take us into tents and talk to us and tell us the stories and tell us that while we are very proud of our Cherokee heritage, that we did have people in our past within the tribe, within the nations that were not good people, that did horrible things, that were true savages, which is why they were referred to in that manner. that earned the names that they were given and that entered into territorial beefs and actually pursued conflict rather than any kind of resolution or amicable agreement. They would take the settlers and murder them horribly, treat them horribly, and do it gleefully. And we always remember the things that our past people did wrong so that our future generations don't behave that way. We remember what it caused us, the callousness it created within the tribes, the break that it created within the tribes, the way that it shifted us from our home in southeastern Kentucky and Tennessee and North Carolina and almost in Alabama and some Georgia. And they started going west to Oklahoma and Texas many times because they thought they were going to get free land or they were sent by the government, but many times also because they thought, I'll go take the land from another tribe. And so they went and created more conflict. And so while yes, you need boundaries, and yes, there's a time to fight for what you believe in, there's also time to remember that no matter who you are or where you come from, if you want to acknowledge the good things that your lineage has created for this world, you also have to acknowledge the bad. And so they did a very good job of balancing and showing us that there were things to be proud of, but the things we had to work on. And I don't see that in many other cultures. I certainly did not really see it in the Scots Irish side. And that's a fault in half of my lineage right there. So, but you don't see many cultures that go, oh yeah, but we did these things and we need to remember we did this because we were not the best people, you know. And I think that's a very practical viewpoint to have, and it makes people so irate when I tell them. They're like, that did not happen. They did not do that. Have you not ever had to go into a tent or a council house and bang a drum when they tell a story? Really? You're not allowed to speak. You listen and you bang the drum, and you better stay in rhythm because it means you're listening. That's how they know you're listening, kids, tribes. That's how they know you're listening. um, they taught us a lot of wisdom by acknowledging a lot of the idiocy of our own people's past transgressions and behavior. But people get so irate because they don't want to admit that there's anything in their past except for what they need to be the winner chicken dinner of the day. And so I guess my beef with society yesterday was that as people, we forget to take full photographs of ourselves. We give a social media image to the world, but I think we've started actually believing our own social media presentation and that that's really who we are and that we're that superficial and that nothing else matters. We can just make it look good. That's all we need to focus on. We can just, all bad can go, but we need that bad. We've got to have that balance. We've got to have that information. We've got to process it and realize that that's within us too. There's a battle within us too. And while you may not think that you're feeding the negative wolf, you think you're the positive wolf, you could very well be kind of leaving the negative wolf alone, but starving the positive wolf because you're not really doing anything that's truly has any depth for society. You're just walking around thinking that, I took a great picture at the bridge this morning. People think I'm living it good. Holla holla. Who did you talk to today? Whose story did you try to understand and share yours back with? What positive energy swap did you make with someone today? Did you make someone smile today? Did you see someone having a grief stricken moment and comfort them? You know, it's social media has ruined the world. The internet ruined the world. You would think that something that could connect so many people would benefit us. But much like the telephone, you only call who you really, really want to talk to and maintain a relationship with. And social media has showed us that really, in this generation, the only people really want to maintain a relationship with is themselves, the version of themselves that they think they truly are. And that is normally a very false representation. And so a lot of people are walking around thinking that they are the end all be all and that the world is really all about them because they have so many thousands of followers on Instagram that like their photo, and their photo got more likes than all their friends. But what do you really know about where you came from? What do you really know about your neighbor that lives in your apartment next door? What do you really know about your neighborhood, your community from 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago? Where is the knowledge that we're supposed to pass down? Because I'm sure in 100 years, someone in the nursing home is not going to say, well, let me tell you this computer code for graphics. I mean, that's not what we're going to be talking about. It's not. It's what happens in the world, how we react, and how we recover, and how we respond as human beings that link together as a community. But how can we be a community if we cannot even talk to someone politely? I mean, I'm more polite to people that I'm not face to face with because I don't want them to get the wrong impression, because it's harder to communicate when you can't see people. So you have to be more careful. Body language is great, it helps. So I'm always more careful with people on the phone, or when I'm just typing. I try to be so careful. But I've realized over the last couple of days, a lot of people just don't care. They just want to have the best story, to win the trophy, to be the best victim, so that they can cry the loudest and get patted on the back and feel like they did something. But I want to tell these people that do this, you're not doing anything and you're selling yourself short. Because if you were to do the work to learn about your history and other people's history, you would probably generate such a shift in the way that you interact with people around you, and the way that you interact with your community and the agencies within your community and the landowners within your community. It would change the way you view the soil that your feet touch every day. And it would make your existence on this earth so much richer. It's like, it's like a tapestry with one color with one strand. It serves a purpose, but it's not very interesting. But if you take the time to do the research and learn these things, you add threads to that tapestry, and it becomes so vibrant and so rich, and so, I mean, it tells a story all its own. And you want to look at it. You want to spend time taking in every detail. And I can't for the life of me think why people would prefer us look at a flat social media photo that has no story, no backstory, no intrinsic value or meaning, over real historical photos that tell the story of different cultures and societies. But I found out very quickly that there are certain people that are not allowed to share their stories. So the internet has, while it has allowed so many a platform to share, it has also proven to be a policing squad, so that many stories never get shared. So most of the world do not know the story of the Irish slaves, not the indentured servants, slaves. They don't know the story of the escaped slaves, both Irish and African, that hid in the hills of Appalachia, intermarried into the native tribes, formed communities in the backwoods, were what you would probably refer to today as feral Appalachians, that did not want to come out and go back into society because they didn't want to go back into slavery. So they lived off the grid, as we would say today. And while people say that's not a true story, it is, because that is how the Melungeons came to be. And if you look up anything today, please look up the Melungeon tribe. These people are known to have a very distinct heritage, and it basically is like the native tribes, a little bit of Irish, some Greek, and then African, because they are the combination of all the escaped slaves that created those little areas where they created family units and communities and said, we're going to live here quietly because we escaped, we're free now, we're going to be happy together. They have a very distinct skin tone, a very distinct eye color, and there's still some today, you know, representing the Melungeon culture, and not many people know about them. But for everyone that tells me my heritage is fake and that the story I tell is false, I say go look up the Melungeon tribe, because it proves that everything I just told you is valid and did happen. But we're not allowed, what I keep being told is I'm not allowed to tell my story because it diminishes someone else's story. Your life story never diminishes someone else's life story. Your life story adds a thread to the tapestry that is the world, and it's just as necessary as everyone else's, and it should be celebrated and embraced and respected like everyone else's. And that was the beef I had yesterday. Was every human life is precious, and every human journey that came to be the culmination of who you are deserves to be told, deserves to be respected when told, and should be shared at will and received, and should never be shut down or told that it's not valid or that they shouldn't share it because it will reduce the impact of someone who really struggled. Struggle is very subjective. There are many atrocities in this world, and there's never a reason why a human being should be treated as anything less than a human being. You can't justify any time in history when any society has done these horrible deeds to each other. But I would certainly hope that at some point we will realize that by trying to crush the stories of others, we are still keeping some people enslaved, just in a different way. And I thought the goal was to make sure everyone knew about the true atrocity that is slavery. So I had a little bit of a beef with the internet yesterday. Um, but I try to tell my story quite a bit, because I know that the story, the history books don't tell it. Denise, that's actually a very interesting thing. They're the one population that really, honestly, there is no rehabilitation for. Um, Normally, there is a epigenetic neural, it's chemistry and function and synapses and biological responses and um, trained learned behaviors, and yeah, they're actually patterning out responses. They're using actual predators. Is that the word we're allowed to use now? What are we allowed to use now? Oh Lord. Anyway, they're patterning out people's responses to stimuli. They're creating virtual stimuli for these people to follow their brain pattern function, and they're seeing that in everyone that has this specific issue, that there is a specific light up in the brain that follows the same pattern in all of their brains. So there actually is a way to identify someone who is inclined to cause these issues. So they're making huge strides. I think that's happening in Finland, Norway, somewhere over there. So they're making huge strides. But you also know, if they're there and they're telling you about that, they're probably well beyond that, and they know way more. That's just what they're willing to tell us at this time. So probably they have far more information than that. That's just what they're willing to tell us. But they were making huge, like, breaking ground in that when I was doing a lot of my education, and it was very interesting. And I still will get in and read about it sometimes and see where we are, and and a lot of times there's a lot of inconsistency with the research, but that is the one time the research has been like nailed. I mean, everyone was just like, boom, hit the nail on the head. So it's very interesting to see that perhaps there is a neural pathway that can tell us, or rather show us, that we have an issue with this person. We have a red flag warning. So, um, I did. Um, I haven't gone in depth or anything because there's so many stories going on right now, and I've just not felt good. So I've like skimmed the news. So I've not gone in depth in anything. I figured that was the way that was going to turn out with the way the investigation changed. Because the ground was, that's the one where the ground was frozen. They dug up the whole backyard, right? Yeah. When they start making moves like that, you know that it's not good. It's not. Investigative bureaus don't spend that kind of money unless there's a reason. It's never a good reason. Thank you. Yes, I have a little bit of German descent in me as well. Same, way back in there. Because that's the trickle. There was just a normal flow, a current of people, if you will, and that was, I just think it's terribly ignorant to sit here and try to say that someone else's story is not valid and doesn't exist. It's just weird. Yeah, little people. I know we're mostly very, yeah. That my grandpa was very wiry and tiny, and um, yeah, and my grandma is from good corn-fed stock, and so my dad's way bigger than my grandpa was. My grandpa was a tiny little man. Boy, I tell you what, he was strong. But boy, the Irish people were hard workers, hardy people, and I think that's why Appalachia has hung on the way it's hung on as long as it has. I think what really reformed and reshaped Appalachia in a negative way was the Welfare Act, when they started all of the funding, trying to really um, profit off of poverty in Appalachia. Because that's what it was. The funds were not going to the people. It was going to strip the land of its minerals and pay the government to do so. But the money never made it to the people. It really didn't. But that's a whole nother bag of worms. Yeah, I mean, everyone's story everyone should matter. Every human being should think and feel and know that they matter as much as the next, and they should offer that same respect. And especially when we're all just trying to tell where we're from and tell our stories and what we've been told, and it just, I don't know, it was frustrating. At the same time, it was eye opening. At the same time, it was sad, because it used to be people wanted to meet up and learn everything they could about everyone in their community and everyone's story and the history and the culture. And like the Heartland series was a huge thing in my area for most of the 80s and 90s. Bill Landry was like everybody's hero because he taught us so much about so many people that were so different, yet we all had something in common. And no one wants to learn about each other anymore. Oh, good. She's got her video uploading. Everybody go watch it when it uploads. Her life story is, you got to hear it. Beverly, well, thank you. Wish you were my neighbor. I'm quiet. Unless I'm yelling at cats. I had a cat fight in the backyard again. I don't know where all these cats come from. No, I live on farmland. I know where they come from. But it was like, I was like, what is that noise? And then I turned down my TV and I was like, tomcats. And I had to do the classic Appalachia on the back porch. They were fighting and they like rolled and tussled into my pool. And I was like, do not hurt my pool. It's on its last leg, very literally. And I did the very classic, country, get on out of here. And they took off running. And David came home like 4 hours later, and they were still squalling down over the hill, down by the creek. And he said, Lord, there's two cats having war. And I said, they've been at it for 4 hours. I said, apparently, I said, neither one of them is man enough to win. I said, but we're going to have to make everybody listen to it all night. Oh, I tell you what, I was like, ugh, tomcats. When you live on farms, it takes on a whole new meaning. Um, so they just, and bobcats make even worse sounds, especially when they're amorous. It's horrible. I have my master's degree in psychology, but I'm just an educated hillbilly. Really, all college taught me was that if you give somebody enough money, they'll give you a piece of paper that makes you feel good about yourself. But if you didn't do the time, you will have nothing in your brain. But you'll have a pretty piece of paper to put on the wall. Thankfully, I put everything in my brain. And I still haven't hung up my diploma. That says a lot about who I am. Oh, Lord. But yeah, I don't like the shift I'm seeing in this generation, the self obsession, um, the I would rather have someone be self-deprecating than always always jumping on someone else and flogging. If they see anyone feel that they have any worthwhile experience or intelligence to share, they just jump on them and flog them like a old rooster. And it's like, that has got to be exhausting. Why do you get up every day and do that? Why not just walk away and go put your time and you somewhere positive? Um, but it seems to be the thing to do now is just to patrol the internet and attack anyone who thinks that they may have something worthwhile to share. Y'all are just coyotes. They run through my barn lot. They get really brave during the winter around here. My husband is a trapper and tanner, so we have trail cams up on multiple farms. They feed us pictures, and sometimes they'll go up to the trail camera and be like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, you're brave," you know. But they'll run through my barn lot, and we don't have any minis or horses or anything here anymore since my health has gotten so bad. And we're thinking about putting a steer over here, but ugh, I don't want to think about the fence issues we'd have then because steers anyway. Um, but they'll run through the barn lot, and I'll have to get out on the porch and and I've got a big spotlight, and I will literally have to put a red lens on my spotlight so I can see how many I have in the barn lot. And luckily, I don't have an outdoor dog right now, but I used to have a big old blue heeler, and I would literally be so terrified because he didn't want to live in the house. He was a farm dog, and I was always terrified that the coyotes were going to get him, and so I'd have to like take a head count and tell my husband and be like, you need to put snares and you know, and because they were just getting way too brave. When they start coming up and looking at your trail cameras that are literally 30 foot from your kitchen window, you got a problem. And so my husband he traps coyote, and because the TWRA is like, please help, the numbers are horrible, and domestic pets and livestock are being just taken out. So he does that. And then our waterways are being absolutely ruined by the beaver that have just exploded because they're moving from British Columbia and Canada and down. And so the blonde beaver from British Columbia that are huge, like 100 pounds, are breeding in with the southern ones that are normally around 40, 50. But now the average one is like 60 to 90. And it's like, that's a big tree rat. And so they're doing a lot of waterway damage and actually altering water and flooding acres and acres of farmland that are necessary. And so he traps those as well. And we try not to waste anything. He tans the hides and sells them, uses them in things he makes. I try to craft and be creative. We're a weird family. I'm a retired parole officer and counselor, but I am just a little hillbilly. Yeah, we do try to like monitor where the brave ones go, the ones that are like the pack leaders that don't mind to come up and sniff a little too close. Um, boy, they're smart. Boy, they're smart. Some days David come home so frustrated, he's like, "I'm gonna outsmart me again," and I'm like, it's kind of comical, but it's not. Um, they're smart though. He's not got many furs left, so but it'll all start again here soon. It's just like a cycle. So, but they were romping and squalling the other night, take and carry it on. So, and that's pretty early in the year for them to start changing their patrols. So I'm like, it's not gonna be a good winter. But that's just how it is. I'm a pretty quiet neighbor. I only really have one close neighbor, and literally they like had to be like right on the property line. They had 5 acres, and I'm like, why did you do that? But if I didn't have that one neighbor, I would own the whole end of the road and have a horseshoe of land around me. Maybe one day I'll finish the horseshoe. Um, it's really kind of, I'm not far from town, but because we're so rural, everywhere seems far from everywhere because we're in the middle of nowhere. Um, but it's just in a little pocket in between farmland. And there's a little behind the creek down the hill, and behind the creek, there's a tiny little suburb, just small little suburb, maybe 7 families. But I'm in like this little, that's in between, in this little like lost island of land. It's funny, but I'm not far from anywhere. Everybody thinks I'm like super remote, and I'm like, no, that's my mother and father. I have to travel 30 minutes down the mountain and like 8 miles off the main road, and it's like I'm never gonna get there. Why do I have to? It's like, why? The older you get, the farther y'all move away from town. My parents have had this progression as they've gotten older. The farther they move, and I'm like, stop. Um, and they've always been on farms, but it's like, but Dad wanted to move closer back to where he grew up from. And so now to visit is very difficult on me, especially on bad health weeks. So, but anyway, I've talked enough tonight. That's what I wanted to share. So go watch my video. God uses Pantene. I called the guy Pantene, and it was funny because now God uses Pantene. Um, I cracked myself up with that. I laughed way too hard at that, and I just want you to know I thought I was terribly funny. So I was like, I was a good one. I was so proud of myself, but I've had a slow couple of days, so I needed a win. Um, watch that video, leave a comment. I'm sure he's going to read them all. He's a great human being, and I'm so proud of him. I have other stories that I want to tell, and I've got people that want to tell their story. Most of them just actually want to come on a stream and tell it, so I've just got to get it to happen. And I'm working on some other stuff as well. Tomorrow, I'm going to be working on a birthday message for Abby, since Gypsy has told us about that. I will do something special, and if my hands work better tomorrow, we may try to do a craft. So I'm going to go to bed now and rest, and maybe tomorrow we can actually accomplish the bracelet craft that I've been wanting to do. Maybe my hands will hold the needle and we can accomplish the craft I've wanted to do for 4 days now. That's what we're going to hope for as we go to bed tonight. David should be home in the next couple minutes, and Oscar's looking at me going, it is potty time. So I'm going to let him go tinkle, tinkle, pot, pot, because my dog runs my house. And then I'm going to get ready for bed. I hope y'all have a good night. I hope you have had more positive interactions on the internet today than negative. And do like me, if you start to notice you're having more negative than positive, make yourself go positive only for 24 hours. It's a really good way to retrain the way that you interact with people. And it keeps you very self-aware of what you're adding to other people's experiences online. So thank you all for spending time. Well, you're very welcome, and I forgot your earrings, so I'll send those in the next box I send you. Hey, those are the best days. And I will actually sneak a little bit into my oats that I have when I have oats, because oats need marmalade. Okay, guys, I appreciate your time. Everybody, go to bed. Think of 3 things that happened that were positive today. Be thankful for them. And wake up tomorrow and think of 3 things that you can do that are going to be positive, that will bless someone else other than you. I'm going to tend to my poor little 10-year-old dog and go to bed. Love you guys.